Hey everybody, this is an owner's review of my car, which is a 2013 Chevy Cruze ECO 1.4 with the automatic. I bought this car new in July of 2013, and I've owned it for approximately 9 months, and I've managed to put about 13,000 miles on it so far. Excuse me. Prior to this, I had a 2004 Pontiac Grand Prix GTP that I bought used, but only had 8,000 miles on it. And I had it for about 8 years, and I traded it in. And when I traded in, it had about 198,000 miles on it. So, needless to say, I don't flip cars too often. So when I buy something, I buy it and I hold on to it. I bought this, as you can probably tell. I made quite a bit of a downgrade as far as power from the Pontiac to this. And the main reason I bought this is because of my commute and gas prices. I live in Massachusetts, but I work in Hartford, Connecticut. My commute is approximately 40 miles one way, and it's 95% highway. I'm only off the highway for about 4 miles before I get to my house. So I essentially bought this to get better fuel mileage, and so far it's working out. So doing conservative driving during the summer and the fall before they switched over to the winter blend. You know, when we were still on the summer gas. I was averaging right around 39 to 40 miles per gallon. And again, that's driving conservatively, driving 65. No type of, not really doing any type of hypermiling or anything like that. Just normal driving, staying within the speed limits, and, easy acceleration, stuff like that. Just normal driving. So with doing that, I average between 39 and 40 miles to the gallon. On one particular trip out to Boston, I averaged about 44, which was pretty good for that day. And that's with the air conditioning on and everything else. So I probably put on about 25,000 miles a year. So by the time it's paid off, I probably gonna have 130,000 miles on it. By the time it's paid off. I took a 5-year note on it. But anyway, so let me tell you about some of the things I like about it, some of the things I don't like about it. With anything, nothing's perfect. You have to make some concessions when you buy anything. But I'll tell you, I looked at a lot of cars before I bought this Cruze, and what did I drive? I drove the Ford Focus, I drove the Hyundai Elantra, I drove the Mazda 3, what else did I drive? And I drove a Sonata, I drove an Optima, and a couple other cars. I drove a Volkswagen, I test drove a Volkswagen CC, the new Beetle, the Turbo, everything. So I was pretty much all over the place. But as far as the segment, as far as what's in the segment between the Focus and the Elantra, I hated the Elantra. I'm not going to make any qualms about it. It's a beautiful car, but it absolutely drove like a piece of crap. It felt very cheap. It was, I can't remember what the trim level on it was. It might have been a GLS, but it wasn't a stripper model or anything like that. It had leather in it, but even with the higher option on it, honestly, it felt cheap. It felt like you're driving down a shoebox on the highway. No road feel, no driving dynamics or anything like that. So I automatically ruled that out. After I drove it, I drove the Ford Focus. I liked the interior on it. I thought it was pretty neat. I deal in IT for my job, so I'm tech savvy. I like a lot of technology in the car. But honestly, what swayed me away from the Ford Focus were the reports on the forums about the issues with the transmissions and the clutches and everything else. so I decided to kind of rule that out. So which kind of brought me back to the Chevy Cruze. And one nice thing about the car is on the highway, it's very quiet. There's hardly ever not a lot of road noise. It's again, Chevy has really come a long way in probably in the last 10 years as far as their cabin quality and keeping road noise down to a minimum. That's one of the major things I liked about it. It's very quiet, and when you shut the doors, it just feels solid. So what else did I like about it as far as the drive? The ride was pretty good. Again, I do a lot of highway driving, so you know I'm not doing a lot of two-lane highway driving like that or anything like that. So you know the highway ride is pretty good at speed. So again, this is the Eco version. Essentially, if you're looking at Chevy Cruzes, the Eco automatic, as far as in 2013, they may have changed some options in 2014. It's basically like a loaded 1LT, because when you get the Eco, essentially they give you the deck lid spoiler. They give you the Eco version wheels, which are 17s. What else do they give you? Trying to remember. It's been such a long time. They give you the MyLink Cruze, power windows, power locks. This one has cloth seats, no power seats or anything like that. I really didn't care if I had power seats because, again, I'm the only person that's in the car typically. And once my seat is set, for the most part, nobody's ever really changed it. So power seats, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Trying to think what else that distinguishes it as far as the option. There's a bunch of minor stuff like the convenience package, you know, remote start, not remote start, but keyless entry, OnStar, stuff like that, XM. No fog lights, that's an option. I plan on getting that a little bit down the road. So overall, I like the car. It rides nice. It's quiet, and has some good amenities. The seats are comfortable. If you read some of the reviews, somebody complained that the seats are hard. I wouldn't say they're necessarily hard, but they are firm. But what I've noticed over the last, probably at least in the last 2 or 3 months, the seats have been starting to break in, and the firmness and the sense of it being hard has gone away, and now the seats are actually getting very comfortable. Probably the biggest thing with the seat is getting it to a comfortable position for you. It's got lumbar, it's got height control, and then it also has the forward and back. Probably the most important thing is getting the height control set for your own body type, because what will happen is, what I've noticed on the seats is, as you're jacking it up, the seat doesn't come up perfectly level. What it essentially will do, it will jack up the back, and if you jack it up too high, it almost gives you the sense that you're sliding off the seat. It feels like your butt is higher than your legs. So what I have essentially done, because I'm 6'1", I have the seat all the way down to the bottom, and doing that, the seating position is perfect. So what's not to like about the car? Again, no car is perfect. You're gonna find faults no matter what, and trying to think of any problems I've had with the car since I've owned it. I've only had a couple issues with it. One, and both of them were cosmetic. There's been no mechanical issues with it so far. One issue was the weather stripping on the passenger side door. It just had a bad fit and finish, and trim piece around the MyLink system, which I'm going to show you in a minute. Some of the padding on it, what there is on the trim piece, there's like these little pieces of plastic that kind of cushion the trim piece against the display, and a couple of those pieces of plastic were starting to work their way into the display. So it's just a matter of bringing it back to the dealer and have them do a trim on it, and then they took care of it. But it was pretty straightforward. But what's not to like about it? Probably the biggest thing is, and again, you have to realize what you're buying when you buy it. Even though it's a 1.4 turbo, it does have some power, but with it being a 6-speed and this particular Eco, it's built for mileage. It's always wanting to shift to get to the next highest gear, and you know, it's I wouldn't say the power is great. It's certainly adequate, but if you're on the highway and you're going to make a lane change and there's somebody behind you, you better allow yourself extra time to make the lane change, because you're certainly not going to want to jump out in front of anybody doing a lane change with the expectation that you're going to have a rapid acceleration. Because typically what will happen is, say if it's in 6th gear and you're in 65 miles an hour and you're making a lane change to pass somebody, and it essentially downshifts. What I've noticed it'll do, it'll go from 6th to 4th, and the way the gears are, it'll just, instead of going down to 5th, what it'll do, it'll go down to 4th, and it'll just sit there and kind of like over rev, and you have to kind of, you know, nurse it back to get into the 5th, which is kind of like a little bit longer of a gear to get into the passing zone, I guess you can call it, as far as utilizing the torque and the horsepower. So, you know, but again, when you buy a car like this, you're not buying it for horsepower or speed or anything like this. You're buying it for fuel mileage, and so just be aware. And you know, since I've done that, I am happy with the car, but there are times when I'm on the highway, I do absolutely miss my Pontiac. The power of that supercharged 3.8, I definitely miss that. But let me tell you about a couple things as far as the annoyances of the interior. And then, honestly, there's only a couple. That's the main one right there. The console for the armrest. Excuse me, guys. But the console is simply it's just too short. If Chevy just made it 2 or 3 inches longer, it will be so much better. And what it does, it slides out. It is adjustable, but even with it out at the longest point, it still feels a little bit short at times. So that's one thing. It's not a deal breaker. It's just it's not really a huge discomfort thing. It's just you notice that you just wish it was a little bit longer. What else in the interior? Since you spend a lot of your time in this, and well, let's talk about it. Let me let's get in the car. So this is the Eco, and we'll talk about the head unit. So when you buy the Eco, essentially they give you the MyLink system, and this particular version of the MyLink, it doesn't have nav. So but with the Chevy lineup, as far as audio options, you have the bass unit, which is just the simple monochrome display. You have, we'll just call it MyLink 1, which is essentially what this is, and then you have, we'll just call it MyLink 2, which is this plus the navigation unit, and then you have the upgraded head unit, which is the Pioneer Premium head unit. If I was to say this car had a weakness, you're looking at it right now, it's essentially the head unit of the MyLink. And what the issue is, it's not that the software is bad or anything like that, or the display is bad, or the menus are bad. I think GM actually forgot what the base unit actually is as far as a radio and its sound quality and its power of the audio system. Excuse me, guys. And I'll be honest with you, it looks great, it works well, but my God, it sounds awful. It really does. There's no power behind the head unit. It has a range of from 0 to 50, and essentially from 30 to 50, you can crank it up as much as you want, and there's no change in the audio levels, or anything like that. It doesn't get louder. It doesn't get softer. There's no more bass that's put into it or anything like that. There's no change to it. At times, I honestly think it's broken. It's so weird. The audio mixing between the front and the back is awful, and that's the only way to describe it. It's just awful. Chevy, when they designed this, they put a lot of the emphasis from the sound coming out of the front speakers, and even if you fade it out to the rears are so underpowered. Even if you fade it all the way back to the rear, you wouldn't even know that there's any speakers in the door. It's that bad. Because again, I think they Chevy put so much emphasis on it being a touchscreen, and MyLink and XM and Pandora, which works great, and everything else. The interface works great. The steering wheel controls are awesome. But they forgot about one of the most basic things with stereo. It needs to sound good, and it just doesn't sound good. Whether it's on Pandora or XM or playing FM or whatever, the sound quality is bare minimum. It's okay. That's it. And and again, this is not their basic head unit that you get in their lineup. It's an upgrade. And you would think that with the upgrade, the sound quality would be better, and it doesn't. And essentially, what it is, the root cause is the head unit just isn't. It doesn't have any power to the speakers. Even if you go to the Pioneer unit, people complain that it's just the sound quality has power, but then the sound quality is just too boomy. So, just in comparison, and there's actually a video for it on my channel. I replaced the head unit in my wife's Jeep, and I spent $189 for that head unit, and hands down, that $200 head unit from Pioneer absolutely blows the doors off of the sound quality of the Chevy MyLink. It's not even a comparison. You would think that this thing only has one speaker on it compared to the sound quality coming out of that Jeep. And the Jeep, other than the head unit, all the speakers are stock and everything else. So what if you're looking to get a Cruze, skip the MyLink, go with a basic head unit. And if you want a nav screen or a touch interface, go aftermarket. You're going to get a better head unit, and you're going to get better sound quality and more options and everything else. So, but besides that, the Bluetooth works great on it. Whenever I call somebody on from the car, they always say the sound quality of the microphone sounds great. There's no echoing or anything like that. Again, no road noise because it's so quiet. What else? So enough about the head unit. But again, when you're in the car a lot like I am, you really want decent sound quality, because other than the driving feel, that's the most important thing as far as sound quality in the car. So So other than that, the interior I love. I like the fit and finish. I like the color layout. I like the darker colors. I like the black in here. So I don't like the lighter colors. I really like this. I really think they really did a good job on it. I know if you read some reviews, they say, oh, why did Chevy put seat material up on the dashboard, blah 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 blah. Well, you know what? What you have to realize is that material is the same stuff as what's on the seats, and you know what? The seats are easy to clean, and you know what? If you can clean the seats with a vacuum, you know what? Hitting those panels with a vacuum and like all the door cards and everything else, it's not that big of a deal. So don't listen to the critics on that. It's a nice touch. It breaks up the interior instead of just having one giant gray slab piece of plastic. It makes it nice. So again, this one has Cruze and all the hand controls and up on the steering wheel, which works great. Power windows, power locks. The AC on it works pretty well. The heat works adequate. But again, you have to remember it's only a 1.4 liter engine, so there's not a lot of heat to begin with that's coming out of the engine. So typically what I'll do before I take off in it, I'll usually let it warm up for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then as long as I let it warm up, I always have a lot of heat out of it, so it's not that big of a deal. So what else? This thing's almost 22 minutes long. I've been rambling on for a lot. So other than that, I like the car. Again, I've had it for 9 months and over a little bit over 13,000 miles. So I think it's a solid car. I like it. I would definitely buy it again, even with the minor issues with the radio and the armrest. So I think that's it. If anybody has any questions or thoughts or comments or anything like that, just put them in the comments box, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.